Boris. How are you, sunshine?
I am wonderful. I'm excited. I love talking about this particular topic today,
Awesome.
which is this idea of purging, spring cleaning, like taking the physical stuff and really like that energetic weight of physical stuff in our lives. I love this. I feel like consistently this always serves me when I take conscious action toward removing certain physical objects from my life.
Absolutely. There's such a
Yeah.
power in it, literally on every level,
Yeah.
right? Like our physical level to like look around and be like, oh my gosh, it's clean. And I know what I have and I know where it is. Like, I mean, this is maybe too much information, but yesterday I cleaned out my bra drawer. Like,
Nice.
I haven't done that in like a long time.
Yeah.
And so this morning I opened up my drawer and like, I only kept the bras that
Yeah.
I really like, that spark joy.
Yeah.
Like, and so I opened up my drawer and there's just like, there's very few and I know where they are. And I had a moment of fear for a second, like, well, cause I'm messy, right? Like I'm messy.
I can get messy.
I had a moment of fear of like, well, what happens if like I wear all these and they're still like somewhere in the laundry? And like, so my brain had that kind of fear based and I was like, Pamela, it's like, no, because you're going to know where everything is. You won't be as messy.
Yeah.
It'll be less to manage, less to put back.
Yep.
Simplifying your life on every level. So that was my bra drawer yesterday.
It's so funny because like one of the things that I like about living in an apartment, in a smaller apartment, is that I only have so much literal space. So it sort of forces this hand. Like if I were to be like, oh, I can just continue to ignore this and just let it expand, the mess expand, which it definitely does. That's kind of how I operate, is I'll like not care and then I'll clean everything.
Why we're friends.
And then I'll not care and then I'll clean everything. And I like that. I'm totally cool with that way of being and that way of living. And I definitely am open to and I'm exploring being more organized with my physical things more, which I like. So I'm slowly introducing that habit.
It's a skill set.
Yeah, to experiment. Excuse me. I have a storage room upstairs as well. So I have extra space. But yeah, anyway, the smaller space helps me like feel the like impingement of stuff sooner.
Yep.
And so I'm better at that than I maybe historically was when I had more space.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I think we lived in New York City up until about 3 years ago. And so we had, a beautiful 1,800 square foot New York City condo, floor through loft.
Yep.
It was 1,800 square feet. And 3 years ago, we moved to Bronxville, and now we have literally over 7,000 square feet in this house. And I'm happy to say that like there are cabinets that are just empty. Because when we moved here, I already kind of had this awakening around simplification and that, more stuff is not better on any
Definitely
level.
not.
On any level. And so I moved into this space with that consciousness and with that practice. And like you, this is not how I'm naturally wired. It's not my game to take my skill set to a higher level of mastery around organization. Like I own a label maker and I label.
I totally own a label maker. I used to use it when I had physical files for my life coaching clients. Mm-hmm. I don't use it anymore because I don't need it. I don't need it in the ways that I used to use it.
Because you don't have, so I'm married with 2 children and I'm lucky enough to have a housekeeper that comes once a week to help me in my not natural state of not being messy. So the label maker is key because otherwise people will not know the method to my madness.
Got you.
It's like I love where things go. And I'm like, no, that has a spot. And if I teach my kids, like if you don't have a spot for that, make a spot here. And I got them all label makers. When we first moved in, everybody got their own label maker to make it fun. So like Jesse has his labeled, this for the Pokemon and this for the, and it helps because then there can be that synergy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Especially when you're on a team and stuff like that. That totally makes sense. Yeah. It's interesting. And it calls us to look at like, how do we roll? Does it affect our energy? You know, like I just can really easily say that when my place gets too messy or chaotic feeling, chaotic looking, it feels chaotic to me. And that doesn't serve me. That takes some of my mental and emotional energy to look past that situation, that mess or that chaos, perceived chaos, and in order to generate creative energy or stuff like that. So once I get to that point, that's when I'm like, nope, gotta clean it back up, because I am committed to being creative and being
the
my
flow
energy and in my flow and being of service and all that stuff. And so I just recognize that it disconnects me from that when I get too much physical chaos.
Yeah, it literally is a block, like literally. And I am someone that I have a higher tolerance, and I think you are too. Like both of us are pretty easygoing. Like things don't really,
It doesn't bother me a whole
like
lot.
it's all good. So it takes, maybe we have a higher threshold for when it gets to that point than maybe the average. Like my husband is much more sensitive to things being out of place, although he's lived with me now for 15 years. So I rubbed off on him. So he's much messier than he used to be. But there's a real block that happens when stuff is a mess, and when we have clutter, and when we have things that we don't need, things that aren't of service to us, which takes us back to that kind of concept of purging. It's like, okay, there's organizing your stuff. And then there's like really going through and like doing the spring cleaning of like, is this something that is of service to me? Does it spark joy? And if it doesn't spark joy, and recognize the difference between sparking joy or sparking nostalgia. Right? Is that something you've spent some time on?
Yeah. Like certain things that are meaningful, like what keepsakes that are meaningful are worth keeping, you know, because like I could easily keep a ton of stuff, tons. I'm a very heartfelt person. Like, so I definitely worked through attachment to things. This is a while ago now. I have very little attachment to things. I've lost some like really important things to me, and it's okay. It like actually doesn't really bother me a whole lot, which is, it was weird, but I just feel like I've done the work that the joy isn't in the thing, you know? Like completely. If my house burned down and I lost everything, that question of what would you grab before you left? Like there's not a whole lot that don't think I would really miss anything. You know, obviously Matilda, she's my cat, but like she doesn't count because she's not like a thing. It's like she's my family, but like I answered this question the other day and I said, I don't know, maybe like the framed t-shirt that was me flying a parachute on the back, like that's probably never gonna happen again. I guess I would, if I had time, I wasn't going to die, I would grab it, but I don't really need that. Like it's not gonna, my life is not going to change if that goes up in smoke, you know?
Yeah. And I just want to hold space for the work that you've done, because this is a big deal. The fact that you've done this work where these sentimental objects don't have that power over you like they probably did at some point, or like they do for many people. And just to hold space, like it is totally normal and appropriate for us to have sentimental attachment to items. It's totally normal and appropriate.
Totally normal.
To hold space for it, that it's kind of a crutch. It's kind of like you're giving your power to that thing and relying on that thing to give you back that joy or that sense of love or that sense of worthiness, right? And so it's kind of like a crutch, and we're giving our power away to that thing, which again, totally normal, totally appropriate. And at some point, we all have the opportunity to do this work where we can like literally thank the item, be like, hey, thank you for being that source. And okay, probably too much information again, but you know, we're doing it. I have a Cabbage Patch Kid.
You have a Cabbage Patch Kid?
I have a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Love it.
I got when I was probably in like, 7. Probably 7. His name was originally Elmer, but then I renamed him Owen. But
I have a bear. His name is Boris, and I love him.
Okay. I'm with you. So like there's like real love. And I still freaking have this Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah. And I mean, Boris is not on my bed or anything. He's in the closet, but I have him.
Yeah. Well, so I tried to give my children the Cabbage Patch Kid. So like they could have it and love it in the same way that I loved it. And that didn't work. Like
No.
this old Cabbage
Like,
Patch Kid. I mean,
old and ew.
Owen is extremely cute. He's got one tooth. He's bald. I mean, and he's in a I should grab him. He's in a reindeer suit. I mean, like he's so cute. But last week, as I started this process of spring cleaning and purging, I had my moment with Owen / Elmer, where I like thanked that cute little pudgy doll for being this source of like love and support during my like little years when I was very dramatic and experiencing life in these very high highs and low lows, and everything was black and white, and there was the best thing ever, the worst thing ever in terms of each day and each moment. Yep. And I needed support to be okay as a little person. And so that doll was that. And I like thanked the doll. And now the doll is in my spring cleaning purge.
Nice.
And it's going because it's not a service in my house. I like, and I took a picture.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to save the memory. I think that is honestly, for real. I've done that with things before too, and letters, like, cause I used to be really big on like saving a lot of cards and letters, and I still have a lot. So it's not that I've gotten rid of all of those at all. I definitely have not. And I'm happy that I have not. It's a choice that I've made for myself. But it's like funny that you mentioned the thing, like Boris, for example. I remember when I saw Boris for the first time, like my mom and I were in fucking Ames, the store. Yeah.
I had an Ames. Pulse Plaza had an Ames. We had an Ames. And I remember when Ames went out of business, it was so like sad. And like my whole life, like how could Ames go out of business? Okay, keep going.
Ames. So seriously.
Love you.
We were in Ames. Like when that happened, I remember I like said, "This is Boris." Like Mom, like
Boris has to come home with me. Like that is my soul brother.
Like I needed to have Boris. Anyway, obviously I ended up getting Boris, but like I was instantly sort of in love with Boris. And it's so funny because Boris, no joke, has traveled the world with me. Back in the day when I've traveled and I did the backpacking as a younger person, I brought him as my pillow because he's this big bear that I could use as a pillow. So like seriously, if we talk about like things that are of support, it is
physically, spiritually, emotionally.
Yeah, like, or you can think about jewelry, you know, which I think people have a lot of attachment around as well, you know, like, but it's the same thing for all of it, you know, it's just the like, what do you assign as its relevance to you and its meaning to you? And that's the feeling you derive from it. If you don't assign it any meaning, it has no power.
Then it's super easy to purge, right?
Yeah.
And most of us have a really freaking hard time when it comes to the spring cleaning, and it's like, all right, I want to clean out my stuff, but oh no, I can't give away that. Oh no, I can't get rid of that. And it's like, okay, well, what's going on there?
One of the ways I did it, and this is back in the day too, but this is a mindset that I bring to purging every time I do it, is be heartless with your things. Because I have the tendency to be more heartful, like to be more attached to things and assign all these positive meanings. And so as a result, if I'm like, no, I'm committed more to like purging my life of this physical, literal weight and energetic weight that comes with it. So like, be heartless. Like it's more just me coaching myself to like go to the other side.
Yeah. I never told myself to be heartless. I'll be honest.
I can't possibly achieve that. That's why.
I know. I can't. Melanie Curtis and Heartless is just, they do not go together.
It doesn't work. It just helps.
Doesn't work. It's just kind of funny, which I think is you, because you use comedy, and obviously it's ridiculous for you to tell yourself to be heartless because you
it's so hard.
You know, and for me, I think that having the kind of awareness, the subtlety around, does this really spark joy? And there's that book written by the Japanese woman, I can't remember what it's called, but this was a thing around like, does it spark joy? And to notice the subtle difference between joy, which is like you're up and it really is of service and you're going to use it. It's going to like, you're going to wear it and feel awesome in it. Like, because if you haven't worn it in the last 18 months, it doesn't really spark joy because you would have worn it. Or if you haven't had an opportunity to wear it, then you got to make an opportunity. Like if you haven't gone to any black tie events and you have a dress that, okay, that's different. But if it's like a shirt, a regular day-to-day shirt, and you haven't worn it, it doesn't spark joy, like period. And so what it's sparking is some sort of nostalgia or guilt around, well, I'm going to wear it at some point. I spent that money on it. And that is not joy.
Yep.
So that's the surrender of I'm going to give it to someone who can use it. And that's what I always say to myself. So you may say, be heartless.
Well, that's how I start, but then I end with that. Yeah. I end where you are, which is to be giving it to other people, that I'm being a contribution to others.
Yeah. That's what works for me.
Because you totally are.
Yeah.
Like you so are.
Yeah.
Like your one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Yeah, and I've got great stuff. Like my clothes are awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, I might not like them anymore, or they might not spark joy in me, but they're still like nice clothes that someone could wear. And if I give them to Goodwill, then someone is going to get they're going to go in and find something, be super psyched that they found something really awesome for $5. And
totally agree. 100% agree with that. Yeah, that's definitely where I end up, is that I'm like, this is me I'm able to give to others. Like that's so much more motivating than be heartless. But like the be heartless is exactly what you're saying. Like, come on, Curtis, you can do this. You can be heartless with things.
Yeah, I know. I get it. So this has been my week, because I got home from Colorado late Saturday. So yesterday was my first day. I got so much stuff done yesterday. I mean, I cleaned out the bra drawer. We covered the bra drawer. So that was big. I done the underwear drawer too, which that we're not giving those to anyone else. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. And I also went through our luggage, because we have like all of these To Me bags that are like, you know, really nice, expensive bags, but for whatever reason, they're no longer the like preferred bag. And so I actually listed 7 To Me bags yesterday on eBay.
Nice.
Which is like that's real money. Like, you know, 7 To Me bags is real money. So that's like, it feels, for me, I find a balance. Like if there's something, like if there's a pair of shoes that I, not stupidly, but I indulged on, like suppose when I was younger, I don't do this anymore at all. But when I was younger, before I became the wise, awake person, I would occasionally spend a stupid amount of money in my now current assessment on a pair of shoes or on a bag.
Got it.
And so those I will put on eBay, because then I'm like, well, maybe I'm only getting like pennies on the dollar back, and it's all good. It's getting out of my room. I'm going to invest that money in something else. And
totally.
It's all
I
good.
always find it as a win-win when you sell something for less than maybe it's worth, like, but I do this with skydiving gear, is that I like to sell skydiving gear that I'm not going to use anymore, that still has tons of flight left in it, like super totally safe to use, but I'm just not ever going to jump this parachute anymore. So I'm going to sell that. So I like to sell it a little bit less, because I feel like I'm giving this person a totally awesome deal. I'm still getting
value
for it. And it's this amazing sort of like, feels like this wonderful karmic positive, like, yay, like they get this like really awesome piece of gear for a price that they're super excited about. I get money, and I also get to give and get rid of this thing that I'm just not using anymore. And it's just a win-win.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, because the bags and the shoes weren't of as value as like the parachute gear, in terms of like, you know, it really was a worthy purchase in the first place. For me, there's always a lesson baked in for me that like I've learned over the years to be a lot less impulsive with my purchases, because at the time when you're in the store, you're like, oh, I love that. Oh yeah, I'm going to wear that. And then, but you actually can't walk in the shoes, right? I have a bunch of shoes that are like these awesome heels. And I'm like, I can't walk in them. Like I fall. You don't look so good when you're like rocking shoes you can't walk in.
You look stupid. Car to table. That's like the only time, like the certain shoes can only do, you can walk to the car and then you can walk to your table where you're sitting. Otherwise you can't wear them. So,
yeah, no. So I have shoes like that. And then
I do too.
when I sell them on eBay for pennies on the dollar, I'm like, okay, this is the learning. Like this is this painful guilt. Cause there's some like guilt in that. Like there's the comfort of like, what the F was I thinking when I bought these shoes? And like, you just like you were glamorized into that hypnotic state of thinking that these shoes are like a must have, right?
Yeah.
Then the release is there's that painful kind of guilt of, this was the stupidest purchase ever. And I say thank you as I'm selling them. I thank myself for the lesson and that I learned something from the shoes or learned something from the bag or the coat, that like I'm going to be much more mindful and be a better steward of my resources before I buy something. I'm going to make sure it's something that I am actually going to be able to use and be of service in my life.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff like that is leaving my house this week too.
Well, there's a lot of education around this topic. I mean, I'm not sure if you've heard of the minimalists.
I'm so on board.
Yeah, like, well, I'm definitely not a minimalist.
I'm trying to get there. I live with 3 people who are definitely
like,
not.
These are Sarah's books and stuff. Like, I don't actually have purged a lot of my books. Anytime I read a book and I'm done with it, I usually mail it to someone that I care about that I think would like it. So I like that as a pay it forward thing, but also keeping the physical items in my life less.
Yeah.
But the minimalist, it's a good extreme look at this. Yeah. So I recommend it just as a conceptual exploration for people to look at what does it look like to be sort of more extreme on the minimalist scale. Like, cause then obviously you have the like hoarders on the other side of the scale, which is not something I really understand or can relate to. Those shows always hurt my heart because I'm like, oh God, I just can't. For me, I look at that and it makes me go, the emotional weight of all of that stuff has got to be so severe, you know? So I just am very respectful of that for myself, but.
Yeah, no, I think for me, the older I get, the more I'm wanting or feeling drawn to more and more of a minimalist mentality around everything, because the simplicity frees you up.
Totally.
Like you know how like Mark Zuckerberg always wears the same shirt and pants, like Steve Jobs always wore the same shirt.
I love that.
I kind of want to see if I can start that for a woman. I know, like as a woman, heaven forbid.
I'm not joking. Like when I don't have to like plan, or I have a pretty standard like uniform for myself too. It's like a basic shirt, necklace, jeans.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I always will feel comfortable, like I'm looking good, you know, like you know what I mean? Like it has all the elements, and I don't have to decide. I know that that's going to work every single day. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I mean, deciding, trying to find stuff. It's just, you look around the room and there's like stuff that catches your attention. You're like, oh, I got to put that away. Or, oh, you know, why is that out? Or, oh gosh, there's another stack of something I have to organize. I'm trying to teach this to my kids because, you know, it's hard in today's day and age. You get so glamorized by the high of getting new stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so you get that high from the new stuff, and then you get home and it's like, are you going to actually use this?
Yeah.
And regardless of whether or not you're going to use it, you now have to put it somewhere and like keep it organized. And the more stuff you have, the harder it is to find what it is that you think you want. And the more stuff you have, the harder it is to even know what you have. And so then you don't even know what you have. And so how can you respect and honor the resources that you invested?
Yeah.
But those were hours that you worked.
Yeah.
You know, like you literally invested time of your work, time of your efforts into that stuff.
Yeah.
So to then not honor that with your care and your gratitude, you then actually are not honoring yourself. You're actually disrespecting yourself.
Yeah.
And most people don't necessarily make that connection. And I didn't for the longest time, but that's kind of what I've awoken to now, where I am like, no. Like I need to honor myself by being a good steward of my resources and what I choose to spend money on.
Agreed.
And then how I care for that stuff.
Agreed.
And this is a new thing for me because I wasn't awake to that, you know, even 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's a such a powerful thing to lean into for people, because I definitely I love fashion as at the same degree. Like, cuz I experience it as art and
Mm,
self-expression. So
yeah.
there's a part of me that definitely has a lot of my closet is cool, fun clothes that I really love putting together. Like, that is fun to me.
Hmm.
That's an enjoyable, it sparks joy to me to have those options when I go out to an event or something like that. So that's a positive. But to, like, I've definitely grown into this, like, I like have, I guess it's just grown into that respect where, like, I really don't need the high. I don't need retail therapy.
Right.
I know that if I go out and I engage in retail therapy, AKA the drug of buying something new and the high from that, that it would have to be a choice, of like, okay, I'm going to buy this and have it be in service of this other thing that I do. But in general, I don't need to buy things. I
Right.
choose other avenues to put positivity into my circle and myself, whether it's going for a walk, listening to a podcast, exercise.
Quality time with friends.
Yeah. What?
Quality time with friends.
Quality time with friends, like lots of stuff.
Hanging out with me.
Sleep, petting Matil, working on something that I want to make progress on. It could be any number of things. But yeah, I'm happy to have that consciousness,
Yeah.
because I definitely used it more historically than I ever do now.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it's consciousness, and you are where you are until you're not. And one day you hopefully wake up and you realize that there's this habitual behavior that you're engaging in that is not of service. Like, if you really look at the chain of what does it mean when you buy that stuff, and you put more strain on your finances, you put more strain on your house and organizing and clutter and all that, and you feel like you're not of service to yourself, right? It's like, if you really look at it, you realize that it's a dysfunctional behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an opportunity to then change the habit and replace it with something that's constructive.
Agreed.
And, just taking a look, I mean, you and I both are so kind of committed to this work of waking up and really being really mindful around the choices that we make, as much as possible through the day, and creating habits, because we can't be mindful all of the time. So we need to create habits. We've talked about this in the past, but this is just another example of replacing habits, because this is, like, again, something that I did for a long time too, because I grew up not being able to afford retail therapy. And so there was a period of time in my 20s, I was like, oh, I have credit cards. I can buy stuff now. Like, I can go shopping and buy clothes. Like, I couldn't do that until, I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And so that was like a huge, dysfunctional period of my life when I was like, oh.
Well, and this is a bigger conversation around people's relationship to money. But, like, I love that you just pointed to, when we buy things that we do not need for our survival, that may be connected to a dysfunctional pattern of the retail therapy drug use, as it were, of spending, that has such a larger cost than just the dollars that are spent. It depends on the person, obviously. Like, if you have just a tons of money and you don't worry about money at all, that's maybe different than most people who, when they spend money, there is that brings them closer to that edge where they tip into scarcity fear. Mm-hmm. And so people who are not mindful of that and then end up in this scarcity of, like, I don't have enough money to pay my rent or do things that are really essential, that is very
sucks.
Bad, super, like, spiritually depressing, massive, like, cost on our lives.
And it spirals, right? Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then you feel even worse. And then if that's your drug of choice to go spend more money, you dig yourself deeper and deeper into the hole. Correct.
And that, I love that you brought that up, just because if people are watching this and reflecting on their own habits, I've worked with enough clients that have found themselves in scarcity. I don't find myself in scarcity very often, like in life, because I've had plenty of experiences where abundance and the universe, like, has provided for me in that way. But I have been in scarcity before. And I had like that scarcity fear. So I have the experience with it. I don't want people to think that I'm just like over here rich, having never, experienced that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I have, and because I've witnessed so many clients working through this really painful experience of financial pressure, that's why I'm like bringing an intensity with my share right now so that people can reflect for themselves on how they roll.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been there a bunch of times in my life where you literally are like, oh crap, like I can't pay my rent. And it's a horrible feeling, like horrible. Like I remember lying in bed thinking like, how can I make money? Like I kid you not, it's horrible. But I literally at one point when I was living in New York City, when I first moved to New York City, and I was not managing money because it was just, I was working 24/7 and living in New York City is just like you bleed cash if you're not careful.
Yep.
I wasn't careful with money. I was always like, oh, it'll be fine, until one day you wake up and you like literally can't pay your rent and all your credit cards are maxed out and you're like, oh my, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And I remember literally thinking like, if I get hit by a taxi cab, I can sue them and get like paid for that, right? Like I remember like that was like, I was like so desperately trying to solve for that. Like, so just to share as well that like, I've been in the depths of like there was no idea that was a good idea. And luckily like I was not that like, but I remember that being like one of my ideas and being like, no, I can't do that. That doesn't sound like a good plan like at all. But I like looked into like egg donor, like, can I donate my eggs? Like I literally was at that point of, this is not okay. I need to find a solution. And it was because I wasn't a good steward of my money, of my resources. I wasn't aware of how I was spending money. And I was spending it on, because I was always very generous. If we went to the bar, I'll buy everybody drinks. Let me get dinner. That's just how I am. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that when you're 20 and you just moved to New York City. Like you will wake up and all your credit cards will be maxed out. And it wasn't even for me as shopping as much, but the being generous thing and like, oh, let me get it. That was more my thing, is experiences and being generous and all that.
And anything without balance is not ideal.
Well, it's a learning opportunity. Whenever we're out of balance, it's not like it's a vindictive, like, malicious kind of, functionality. It's just, we're going to give you a learning opportunity right now. So you can learn to be more in balance and make decisions that are in alignment with sustainability.
Yep.
And it will be painful to get you back on that track. If it weren't painful, I would keep treating everybody to dinner and drinks and maxing out my credit cards.
Yeah.
But it was painful, so I had to stop.
I know. I love it. It's because that is just some of the most intense pain and fear I have witnessed in life coaching clients that I have worked with.
Yep.
So it's not to acknowledge anybody and validate, like it's a normal thing for people to experience. Like, oh my God, when I was on the world tour, like, post-divorce, going on this fucking big world tour, actually not even post-divorce, like during, going on this big world tour, like committed to this big project. I had like a client of mine left right as I started the world tour. And I'm on this big trip with a friend of mine who had saved up for years to do this like vacation. Like it was so like such a different experience. And I'm working, running my business, going through like emotional hell and trying to manage scarcity fear throughout the entire thing. Like it was
intense,
horrifically difficult. Like, so that's the thing.
And
like
you learned from it.
Oh my God, I'm so glad.
All those horrifically difficult experiences are our learning opportunities.
Absolutely. Agreed 100%.
For it.
Agreed 100%. Yeah. I'm more just
for all my mistakes because
I more speak to like, it's so worth looking at this with consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I love how this started with spring cleaning. Ended up with like financial scarcity, terror, and the greatest lessons and some of the greatest lessons in life come from having that consciousness and control around our finances.
Yeah. And it all comes full circle because by purging, by like getting rid of the stuff that we don't need, we're literally opening up channels for new things to come into our life that we do need.
Agreed.
So you're literally by taking these steps, these spring cleaning, purging steps, taking these actions, committing to however many bags, however many closets, however many drawers, that you literally are opening up a flow of incoming abundance. And I know that sounds like woo-woo and silly, and I know for a fact that it's true.
I agree. I completely agree. It's that trusting the energetic read. Trust your energetic read. That whole, like, does it spark joy? It might sound kitschy, but it's like, it's an actual practice. Like, really, if you give into that as a practice, as not even a practice, but even just an experiment with, if you go and do some spring cleaning of your own, does it spark joy? AKA, is there an energetic positive with this thing? Mm-hmm. And not just the nostalgic, as you pointed to earlier. Yeah. Really, really good stuff. I love it, girl.
I love you, Melanie Curtis. You are awesome.
You. Follow this stuff. I am doing my email list so much more than I ever have, everybody. So if you want to go to sign up for my email list, which is different than the YouTube channel, I'm working on new stuff for that. So melaniecurtis.com, sign up in the pop-up, and great stuff is on your way. Awesome. So Pam, tell us more about your stuff so people can know.
Well, I still have Gold Evolution. I'm still feeling really inspired to share kind of all my general awakening stuff and skills and insights. And I'm launching Peace Power Parenting, the formal launch, in the next couple of weeks, which is super exciting. I feel so good about the transformative results that my beta people had, that it's just really, really a powerful program. Feels so great about launching that. So you can find that at peacepowerparenting.com.
Boom. Love you all.
Love you, honey. Have a great day.